Your Creative Push, episode 160.
What happens in the future can always change, but you are in control of you now. So do what makes you happy now.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I'm your host, Youngman Brown, and my guest today is Hieu, aka Kelogsloops. Hieu is a talented 20-year-old artist from Melbourne, Australia, who's been drawing since he was 5 years old. He has amassed an impressive online following with nearly 200,000 followers on Instagram. And Hieu, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I was wondering if we could actually start out by talking about, because you're kind of in the beginning of your true artistic career, if that makes sense, because of the recent decision that you made. And I was wondering if maybe we could start there.
Yeah, sure. So where to start? Let's see. So up till about 2 years, up to about this year actually, I was studying physiotherapy. So in high school, I was raised, like all throughout high school growing up, I was raised in a very studious environment. So it's always about having good grades, working towards a very stable career. Because I've got 4 older brothers and they're all they're all business focused, so they had a clear trajectory where they wanted to go. So for me, going to high school, it was kind of natural to be surrounded by like the idea that you had to work towards having a stable career, an intellectual job. So I wanted to do physio, and I loved it because it was like I got to work in the health field. I got to be active and get out there and do things. It was fun. It was interesting. But all throughout high school, art was always this major thing about me. I was always the artsy kid. So growing up, I was in every single class. I was always drawing and doodling in my sketchbooks, and I'd always get in trouble. Yeah, so I was always the artsy kid, and then people always recognized that. And it wasn't anything like a prodigy or anything. It was nowhere near a prodigy, nothing like that. It was kind of just something I liked. And I never thought much of it because growing up thinking it's all about being smart, it's all about being studious and doing well in grades. It's not as if art really mattered. But it wasn't until the late years of high school that I kind of realized that art was kind of the dream. It was a dream. It's all I wanted to do. I didn't really want to work in a business or an office or anything like that. I just wanted to draw. Mm-hmm. Like growing up I went to a very academic high school, and there was literally 5 people studying art in my class. So it was very looked down upon. And like no one really says it. It's not a thing that people say art's a bad thing. It's kind of just the notion of it. Doing art means that you're a failure. So I never wanted to do art. And I told myself that I just, study hard, finish school, go to uni, get a degree and study physiotherapy and work as a physio. And maybe then I could save enough money to maybe one day retire and draw and make a living out of that. So I did physio. I studied it for a year and a half, and it was fun. It was great. It was challenging. I loved that, but it just wasn't enough. So right before the first year of physio, I kind of realized that I didn't love it that much, but I told myself I'd stick it through anyway. So that's when I started to really work on my art and take it more seriously. So I started to draw every single day. I started to have I adopted this motto, made this motto that I use all the time now. It's called "Bring It Back, Chasing Dreams," and it was kind of a reminder to every day just keep going, working towards an art, knowing that in the back of my mind it was something I would be doing and working towards. So I drew. I studied, went home and I drew, and it went on for a year, and then in that year things started to pick up very, very quickly. Like my art started to get noticed and picked up by people across the world. I started getting my work featured and shared, and especially in the community, the DeviantArt community, which is an online art community. People there started really noticing my work and recognizing it. It made me think more serious about my art. It made me question whether what I was doing was the right way to go about it. Right. And the more I drew, the harder it was to study, because when I'd study for physio, back of my head, I just want to draw. And it kind of developed into a bit of like insomnia or anxiety. Like just this, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night for months, because I was always thinking about the risk of doing it, whether I do it, what I'm going to do, what my plan is. And it got pretty bad for a few months. But then it just one day I woke up and I just realized that there's the one biggest fear that I had would be at the end of my life knowing that I didn't try. And I think it's kind of this thing that I read about this article. Some nurse did a study about on these people who in palliative care, and the most common thing that they had in their regrets, or she asked about what they had regrets in life, and the most common thing was that people regretted not doing the things that they were scared of. So I kind of took that as something that I wanted to hold dear. So I said, to hell with it, I'm just going to do it. And it wasn't easy because my mum, my parent, I absolutely love my mum. I do everything for her. She wasn't fully on board with the decision. So when I first told her I wanted to do art and drop out of physio, she wasn't on board, and all she asked, she just begged me not to do it. She just said, please reconsider this. And that broke my heart. That screwed me over because for months I told myself I'll do it. I'll finally do it. And then I finally did it. And she just said that. And it made me relapse. And I decided to do physio again. So I had to continue. And then things just went a bit messy again. But eventually something happened and I decided to just do it. And that brings me to where I am now. A year later. Oh, that was a year ago.
I think that your story can resonate with a lot of people, because I think your story is one that a lot of people wish that they might have made that decision, the idea of, having this mantra that as you're studying, as you're going through schooling for something that you're not that passionate about, as you're taking tests for it and thinking about the thing that you want to do. I think a lot of people, humans, I think, are really skilled at being able to push down things that to make them prosper in the world that they live in. And the world that we live in is the world of, you just gotta make $1. you gotta make your money, and you gotta get through the day, and you gotta find a way to get to that lifestyle that you can get to that point. One of the craziest things about your story that you said was, thinking about maybe one day I'll retire and then I'll get to art. That's a crazy thing, and I think a lot of people have that. They're like, one day I'll get to that. One day I'll get to really pursue my passion, really pursue the thing that I really, really care about. And that day just is so late. That day never seems to come ever. Yeah. And so I really, one of the reasons I really wanted to get you on the podcast is the fact that you fucking did it. You went for it. So take us to where you're at now, because you did make a change then. You're still in school, but you did make a change.
Yeah. When I finally made the decision to just do it, it was very scary at the start because my mum still wasn't on board, but I told her that this is, I was so unhappy with where I was. I hated it, hated everything. And I think she finally saw that. And she saw that, when I say I drew every day, I would stay up till 6 in the morning, wake up 10 in the morning the next day and keep drawing constantly whenever I had days off. And I think she realized that made me happy, and I guess she finally said, if you this is what you want to do, then I'll support you. And that kind of meant the world to me. That honestly made it feel so much better to do it. And so I went in, dropped out of uni. That was the scariest thing ever. I can still just picture doing it. It was so bad. So I took the half a year off because I couldn't enroll into the new course I wanted to go into until next year. So I told myself that during that time, I would spend every single day painting and drawing and trying to build a name for myself as an artist. So that's what I did every day. I started a YouTube channel late last year. I wanted to document this journey because when I first made the decision, I realized when I first discussed about it. So on DeviantArt, I'd often talk about it, about this decision, this fear of this problem, and then one of the most common things that I found was that so many people could understand and relate to it, and it kind of was a bit sad that it's such a common thing to happen to people. This decision, this conflict between having a stable job and doing what you love. So
Right.
that terrified me. But then people really started to back me and support me, and it made me realize how much it meant to people, like doing this kind of thing. So I wanted to document my journey and kind of inspire people that, it doesn't have to be all that. But I can't really say it is or not because I'm still doing it. So I have no idea whether I'll end up as a failure or anything. But I just know that I want to do it and I want to document it. And maybe people can learn from it or maybe they won't. So yeah, I started a YouTube channel. I started posting on Instagram. I started doing all the social media platforms. And things started to turn up. Things got better. I entered my first exhibition, and it was amazing. It was incredible. I had my first work sold. I opened a print store. I started working at an art magazine. I just there's a lot of things happened, and then by the end of the year, I felt like that time off I really had a direction of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and what I had to do to work towards to get it. So I started this year actually, a very clear goal set in mind. And I went to uni, I started a uni degree, I started studying animation, and I've never been happier. I go to class. For once, I get to surround myself with people who are artistic and are like-minded and have something they want to do. Because I was always surrounded by people who wanted to study and become doctors and lawyers, and then when you ask them why, they never really had a reason why. And I never understood why they wanted to do that. But then all of a sudden I was surrounded by people who knew they wanted to do art because they loved it, because that's all they wanted to do. So I found that kind of nice and a very big change in perspective to be surrounded by.
And are you enjoying it?
Yeah. One of the weird things I noticed was that holidays mean something completely different now than homework, as weird as it is. So from when I was studying physio, the one thing I noticed was that because I was trying to build a name as an artist and study physio, like two completely different things, it was always a bit like uni, study, go home, and art. So there was never a break. So I would spend all my breaks doing my art. And then this year I realized that study is art and art is study. And all of a sudden it became one thing. So I didn't have this other thing in the back of my head worrying about. And all of a sudden I felt like I could breathe for once. So I could actually enjoy myself. Like I had holidays, and for once I actually had holidays.
Right.
Because my work and my study was the same thing.
Right, so it's not this thing you have to catch up on, like this thing that,
It's such a weird, silly thing. Like it was very significant. Something I noticed, and it was it's nice because all of a sudden everything you do and everything you study, it all ties together and it makes sense. Instead of having to kind of constantly separate things between work and like this constant shift between these two things that are completely different.
Right. Well, and that's one of the whole points of this podcast in general, and one of the reasons I created is because me, the people listening, we're people that have another life that we don't necessarily like. Not that we don't necessarily like, but the thing that doesn't fulfill us, like the way you're saying, the thing that while we're there, while we're doing this thing that like fulfills us monetarily, we are not being fulfilled. Spiritually isn't the word, but like we're not being able to put ourselves out there in the world. And art is the way that we get out there. And so like one of the questions I wanted to ask you was like documenting this journey, making a YouTube channel and being like, hey, I just made this decision to do this. What was that like? Because I think that that's like a really scary decision to make in general. To be like, all right, I'm gonna totally audible. I'm gonna go for this. I'm going for, my artistic passion, the thing that makes me happy. Not the thing that will necessarily 100% make me money in the long run.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you document that? And has it been really scary for you to like do this thing where you don't have that end goal? I feel like for a lot of people, like it would be easy to do that, like to like start documenting and be like, hey, I'm going on this journey and blah, 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 but like not publish it until you actually make it.
Yeah.
So how is it for you where you're like, you're publishing it before, you know,
happens,
and I don't mean to say that you haven't made it, because you are a very, very talented artist. Like you are awesome. So what is that like for you?
Well, I actually started my YouTube channel around mid last year, but the only point of it, I only used it to record speed paints, so like time lapses on my drawing processes, because I wanted it to make videos to teach people to kind of,
which are really cool, by the way.
Thanks. So that's all I wanted to be, a YouTube channel full of videos for speed paints, because I loved watching them. I saw these League of Legends used to do them. I don't play the game, but I used to love watching the art spotlights, because you get to see the process and the thinking and how all the work pans out, and it was amazing. So I wanted to do that really badly, and I did, and people liked it. But the whole doing YouTube and kind of the whole documenting the journey and putting my face to the channel, to my art especially, that was terrifying. Because, well, in the first place, sharing your work, sharing anything on social media is terrifying, because you're exposing yourself to kind of be criticized by the world. You're putting yourself in complete view for absolutely anyone to hate on you, to like you, to make shit about you. Excuse my language. So that was terrifying. But then I thought it was very important for me to do, because throughout the whole entire phase where I was worrying about making my decision, that whole entire phase of thinking about what to do, one of the things that you kind of look for is guidance, and you look for something to, like, someone's advice, someone to turn to. You ask, like, I found myself Googling the most weirdest questions, like, how much does an artist get paid? How much does an animator get paid? I'm like, make a rational decision, like, is this actually viable? Like, can I actually survive if I work as an artist? So I used to Google those things like nights and read blogs about people like that. And it's a kind of crazy obsession. Like, you're constantly thinking about, like, how much will I get paid? Like, will I make it? Will I live? Will I be able to feed? Like, how much is living in California? How much does it cost to live? How much is the average salary? So things like that. I found it silly, because there's no one to really model from, no one to really look for or get answers from or ask questions. And, like, I could ask my teachers, but they didn't really know either. And no one really knew. And you don't really know who to ask or where to go, what to do. And I hated that, because I asked so many people, I talked to my friends, and there was never an answer. So I thought that it was kind of important to document this, because if I can help someone out there, then that's something I've done. That's something I want to do. Then that's everything to me. Just being able to give someone some kind of insight or guidance or something to help with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, to be that guinea pig.
To be the guinea pig, pretty much. Because, there's just, I don't really know, well, I never really found anyone to kind of give an anecdote, guidance, a story, advice. You don't really find those things.
Absolutely, man. I totally resonate, because that's the reason I created this podcast. It was because I'm just a normal dude. I'm not a podcaster. I'm just a dude who likes to write. And I'm a dude who I had this crazy idea of making these music videos, and it took me forever to get the courage to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we need more of a support system in general. And I think kind of the theme of our conversation so far has been like the fact that everybody tries to push you down this path of the thing that they think will be best for you, where the thing that will be most stable for you, where you'll be able to make money and just go through your path. And then maybe, like you said, when you retire, you can do the thing that you actually love. But I think we need to encourage each other to do the thing that you actually care about, because I think it's important. I think it's important for pushing humanity, just pushing each other to express yourselves, to figure out who you are actually as a human being, what you care about. So then when you when you actually did like kind of share your story, share your face, what was that like for you? Because I mentioned to you before we started this interview how I actually thought you were a girl when I reached out to you. What was that like? Because I think a lot of people thought you were a girl.
Yeah, I know. They still do. It's fun. It's interesting. It's kind of, it makes you think why. Why is it people think I'm a girl? But so why I did that video was I wanted to kill two birds with one stone. The point of it was to launch my channel and start documenting the journey. And I've been putting off for so long and I've been so scared about it, so I never really found a means to do it. And then I remember I always got asked, like people were always commenting things like, "Oh, have you seen this artist? She's so talented." Or,
yeah.
"Oh, I love her work." So then my friends would always bag me about it. They'd laugh and they'd take the piss out of it and they'd make it worse. So all my friends would go and comment on my photos like, "Oh, look at her work." So they always do that. And then people would it kind of made people also think I was also a girl. So kind of just go with the flow. So everyone was always referring to me. She was a girl, her, she.
Sure.
So my friends did not help at all.
They were just pushing it.
Yeah, they still do, actually. Yeah, there's been a few instances, like some very funny instances where I've been mistaken as a girl. Like, when I started working at the magazine I work at now, they also thought I was a girl.
Before they hired you?
Yup. No, in the process of hiring me. And the thing is, the team is full of women.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, am I meant to be here?
So wait, do they? Okay,
no, so they hired me, and then the editor of the magazine, the founder, co-founder, she introduced me to the team, and she made a Facebook post because there was a Facebook group for like the management team, and she introduced me as like, "Hi everyone, just wanted to welcome Hieu. She is an artist from Melbourne, and she is joining us today to join our team." And it was the most awkward conversation because I had to message her and say, "Hey D, I don't know if you know, but I'm actually a guy." Yeah, I was terrified because I thought it was an all-women's team. So I was like, "Oh God, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get kicked out." But it wasn't like that at all. It's nothing like that at all. The other co-founder, the co-founders are husband and wife now. Cool. So they're completely cool with it. Yeah, so it's pretty funny.
Did that affect you at all? Like knowing that people?
No, I'm not surprised people think I'm a girl. I'm not surprised at all.
Just because of your subject matter?
Yeah, because I always draw girls, and they're always it's very emotion based, very emotive driven. So it's always kind of this sensitivity to my work, and I guess people kind of always assume that as very feminine, and it has to be by a female artist, because there's a lot of artists, like the ones I know, a lot of them are girls too, so I'm not surprised.
So what really encourages me is the fact that you have that mentality that you're like, whatever, okay.
Oh yeah, completely.
It's like a slight obstacle, but like not in terms of the actual art that I'm making, but in terms of, you know, the dynamics of like having a meeting. What kind of encouragement would you give to somebody that might have that type of thing where they're not necessarily creating something that is like necessarily typecasted as like a male or female or just like happy or sad or whatever it is, like where it's just like completely beyond their personality, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
I think so. Well, my biggest advice would be you should not have to change your work to fit those around you or your environments, because then that's not very expressive of yourself in the first place, which kind of defeats the purpose of art. For me especially, like, I find it kind of funny, a bit hilarious. Like, my friends always joke about it, and it's funny. But the fact that people think of me as a girl, it doesn't affect me at all. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't care. Like, my work isn't about whether I'm a guy or a girl. That's the last thing that people should be worried about. So it's not, it bothers me. But as long as they understand, the most important thing about work is the meaning, the stories, understanding, just the art itself. It doesn't matter about the person so much. Well, it depends on what you are as an artist and what you do and what your work is about. My work isn't about myself directly. I create my work to resonate with people. It's kind of like the point of it is to connect with people and make people have a dialogue between themselves and the work. So it's about what the person sees in the work, not about what I put in the work. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my work is driven by ideas and obviously like meanings that I come from myself. But when someone's looking at my work, it's not about who created the work so much. It's about what they see in it. That's what I find important. Yeah. So I think for my advice for people, like you shouldn't let people around you tell you what you should draw. Whether they think you're a girl or a guy, it shouldn't matter at all. If you're a guy, if you're a macho dude, like muscular, macho, you're a weightlifter, bodybuilder, and you want to draw chicks in like anime and cute girls, do it. It's expressive to yourself. It's all that matters. You'd rather do that than do something you hate, because then you're gonna hate it as well. What's the point?
Absolutely. It goes back to the original conversation we were having about just doing the thing that that you want and ignoring what other people think that you should want for yourself.
Yeah. And the thing is, one of the pros, I guess, about art is that you get to hide behind an alias. You get to hide behind a face. You get to hide behind your work. People won't necessarily fall in love with your work or like your work because of who you are as a person. They will like your work because they like your work. Anonymity is a powerful thing, because if you are this said macho dude and you want to draw chibi girls or cute little furry animals, then people fall in love with your work and you get to hide behind that. So it shouldn't really matter. You should just do what you like.
Absolutely. Anonymity, it's one of the best things about trying to be an artist. It's like creating this other self. I've talked about this before on the podcast. We've kind of tried to decipher this whole thing about like having a different personality of your artistic self, or like if you're a writer, if you're an artist, if you're a photographer, if you're a musician, whatever it is, it's like that the expression of yourself being different from your actual personality and how you interact throughout daily life. But the thing about that, the tricky thing about that, is that is actually who you are. And that's the tricky thing to get around. But that's the reason that you should have that interaction between you and your an anonymous self, you and your artistic self.
True.
Do you have any other like resistances that you encounter? Like, I know you have classes, you have a lot going on, but do you have any, like when it comes down to sitting down and sketching, do you have anything that like holds you back on a daily basis?
Well, I think everyone gets art, like creative block. Mm-hmm. There are phases where I get very bad creative block, and it frustrates me, and it makes me very angry and upset. And I hate those periods because all I want to do is draw. So I always wanted to draw, but sometimes when that comes in the way, it makes things very bad, and I don't know, it doesn't translate very well. So that happens. I think everyone gets that. I think I manage that pretty well, I think.
How do you manage that?
So it depends on what it is. So the way I see art block is that there's kind of two ways of art block. There's kind of inspirational art block and motivational art block, I think. Mm-hmm. So one of it, like when I get motivational art block, it's that I have no motivation to draw. So it's on days where I am absolutely wrecked and I just don't want to do anything. And that's just because I have very little motivation. And when it's inspirational, it's kind of where I want to draw, I really want to draw, but then I can't get the ideas out and translate properly. I have ideas in my head, but it just won't come out. Mm. So the way I tackle it is, it depends on what it is, what I feel like. So if it's like an inspirational art block, or if it's a motivational art block, then I see it as it's being locked into a perspective that no longer aligns with where you are now. So it's like you've exhausted a resource of inspiration, mm-hmm. and you need a new mindset. And mm-hmm. you keep trying to draw from that, but where you are now is not the same as where you were a month ago. Mm. So then what I do with that, I usually just spend hours and hours just absolutely absorbing everything. So I go on DeviantArt for hours, I go on Tumblr, I go watch YouTube videos, I watch movies, listen to music, just anything. Because anything, the tiniest things can inspire me. Like the most randomest thing is like a speck of colour or something like that. So yeah, that's how I tackle art block, I guess. Just surround myself until I get a new perspective. And that's when I get the new fuel to go on again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes it comes down to like moving on to a different thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I have that too. Like where there's like two different artistic inspirations, like especially for writing. It's the initial seed of an idea.
Yeah.
The thing that just like seeps in and just finding that from some other source. And then it's the thing that connects with that seed. And I think sometimes you do need to walk away from the seed of the idea as it starts to kind of like grow and germinate and then find that thing that connects with it. Do you have like a favorite book or YouTube clip or anything else that you draw inspiration from?
So there's this video called Mind Shift.
Mind Shift?
Yeah, so it's one of those, those motivational videos that you watch and it's those speeches over really inspirational music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. I love it. It's the best
love
thing
those.
Yeah, they're incredible. So yeah, I watch that whenever I'm kind of dry and it helps a lot.
So sick. We're going to link that up. yourcreativepush.com/Kelogsloops. Hieu, it's time for the final push. This is where I ask you to reach to the microphone and grab the shoulder of one of the listeners that you've already inspired today and just give them your best words of advice and just push them to pursue their creative passions.
Think about what makes you happy now rather than waiting and thinking what will make you happy in the end. Because what happens in the future can always change, but you are in control of you now. So do what makes you happy now. Dude,
Hieu, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Absolute pleasure, dude.
And you can find Hieu on his website, Kelogsloops.com, KELOGSLOOPS.com, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, DeviantArt, Tumblr, Kelogsloops. And you can also find everything we talked about today at yourcreativepush.com/Kelogsloops. Hieu, thanks again, brother.
That was awesome, dude.
Oh, that was so much fun. I really had a fun time talking with Hieu. And the title of the episode and his motto that he mentioned was BRB, Chasing Dreams. Be right back, Chasing Dreams. And I love that. I love that more than anything because chasing your dreams is the most important thing that you can do. And the funny thing is that they don't have to be dreams. They're just kind of placed as dreams because of the way society has sort of settled in to have this standard path for success. And that success is the type of thing we were talking about in the episode, the type of success that is defined by obtaining schooling so you can get a job that will allow you to obtain consistent money throughout your entire adult life so that you can guarantee that you can pay your bills and kind of be a cog in the machine. And what I love about his mantra of be right back, chasing dreams, it's like saying, all right, hold on. I don't have time for you at the moment because I just made this decision to do what I want to do with my life. See you later, maybe. Or probably not, actually. But be right back, and maybe I'll talk about you in an interview at some point. I fucking love that. I've interviewed a few young people recently who are either making that scary decision to do what they love or at least making the decision to flirt with the idea of it and starting to really push their creative pursuits. And it's been really inspiring and honestly a little... I don't know what the word is, humbling. Like, I'm jealous of them for having that kind of courage to go for it so early. So really take that mantra into your day, into your week. If you have a normal type of situation and your dream is to do something else, your dream is to be an artist, your dream is to be a writer, a musician, to have, like Hieu did, what you're going for and where you want to be aligned. Start putting parts of your daily habits that aren't in line with your dreams. Tell them you'll be right back because you are going to go chase your dreams just like Hieu did. Again, Kelogsloops.com to check out all his work, buy some of his stuff, and you can find all the links at our show notes page, yourcreativepush.com/160. But that is all I've got for you today. Hopefully you're inspired to go and get your work done, so go and get it done. Go chase those dreams. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time if you need the push again. I love you all. Bye. Never miss a push. Head to yourcreativepush.com/subscribe to find the easiest way for you to subscribe to the podcast.